What if there was a book that could guide you through the afterlife? Not just any book, but a cursed tome that promises to reveal secrets beyond the grave? Would you read it? This is the story of Emma, a woman who found such a book and discovered that some secrets are better left buried. Emma had always been a lover of books. Her weekends were often spent perusing the dusty shelves of second-hand bookstores, searching for hidden gems. It was on one such weekend that she stumbled upon a small, unassuming shop she had never noticed before. The sign above the door read, "The Forgotten Tome," and it beckoned her inside with an air of mystery. The shop was dimly lit, with the smell of old paper and leather filling the air. As Emma wandered through the aisles, she came across a section labeled Occult and Supernatural. Intrigued, she began to browse the titles, her fingers tracing the spines of ancient volumes. It was then that she saw it, a weathered, leather-bound book with no title on the cover. It seemed to call out to her, urging her to pick it up. Emma carefully pulled the book from the shelf and opened it. The pages were yellowed with age, filled with handwritten notes and strange symbols. At the top of the first page, in elegant script, were the words, "The Afterlife Chronicles, a guide through the veil." Without hesitation, Emma purchased the book and hurried home, eager to uncover its secrets. That evening, Emma settled into her favorite armchair with a cup of tea and the mysterious book. As she began to read, she felt a strange sensation, as if the room around her had grown colder. The first chapter described the various realms of the afterlife, from peaceful paradises to dark, shadowy places where tormented souls wandered. The book's descriptions were vivid, almost too real. Emma could picture the ethereal landscapes and hear the whispers of lost souls. As she read further, she found herself drawn deeper into the book's strange allure. She turned the pages eagerly, absorbing every word. Around midnight, she reached a chapter titled "Crossing the Threshold." It detailed a ritual that supposedly allowed the living to communicate with the dead. Emma's heart raced with excitement and fear. The idea of contacting the afterlife was both thrilling and terrifying. Without fully understanding why, she decided to perform the ritual. The instructions were clear and simple. Light a candle, draw a circle of salt, and recite an incantation written in the book. One that we won't recite here for your own safety. Emma gathered the necessary items and began the ritual, her voice trembling as she spoke the ancient words. At first, nothing happened. She felt a wave of disappointment wash over her, but then the candle flickered, and a chill ran down her spine. The air in the room grew heavy, and she felt a presence, something watching her from the shadows. The next few days were filled with strange occurrences. Emma would wake up in the middle of the night to find the candle she had used for the ritual still burning, even though she was sure she had blown it out. Objects in her apartment moved on their own, and she heard whispers in the darkness when she was alone. At first, she tried to rationalize these events, convincing herself that it was all in her mind. But as the days went by, the occurrences became more frequent and more intense. One evening, as she was reading the book, she felt a cold hand brush against her shoulder. She jumped, dropping the book in shock, but there was no one there. Determined to understand what was happening, Emma turned to the book for answers. She found a chapter on unwanted visitors, which explained that once the veil between the living and the dead was opened, it could not easily be closed. Spirits could cross over, and not all of them were benevolent. The book suggested another ritual to banish unwanted spirits, but it came with a warning. The ritual was dangerous and could have dire consequences if not performed correctly. Desperate to end the haunting, Emma decided to take the risk. On a stormy night, Emma prepared for the banishment ritual. She followed the book's instructions meticulously, drawing protective symbols around her apartment and lighting black candles. The air was thick with tension as she began to chant the incantation, her voice echoing through the empty rooms. As she spoke the final words, a violent gust of wind blew through the apartment, extinguishing the candles. The temperature dropped sharply, and the whispers grew louder, almost deafening. Emma stood her ground, repeating the incantation over and over. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a woman, her face twisted in agony, eyes hollow and empty. Emma felt a wave of terror, but forced herself to keep chanting. The figure moved closer, reaching out with skeletal hands. Just as the spirit was about to touch her, a blinding light filled the room. The figure let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared. The wind ceased, and the temperature slowly returned to normal. Emma collapsed to the floor, exhausted but relieved. She had succeeded in banishing the spirit, but the experience had left her shaken. She realized that she had underestimated the power of the book and the forces it could unleash. Emma decided to research the book's origins, hoping to find a way to undo the ritual that had opened the veil. She visited libraries and searched online, but information about the Afterlife Chronicles was scarce. It was as if the book had been erased from history. One evening, while browsing an old bookstore, she met an elderly man who seemed to recognize the book. He introduced himself as Samuel, a retired professor of occult studies. Intrigued, Emma showed him the book and explained her situation. Samuel's expression grew serious as he examined the tome. He revealed that the book was known among occultists as the Cursed Guide. It was believed to be written by a sorcerer who had delved too deeply into the mysteries of the afterlife. The book contained powerful rituals, but it also came with a terrible curse. Anyone who used the book would be haunted by the spirits they summoned, and the veil between the living and the dead would remain open until the book was destroyed. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Destroying the book seemed like the only solution, but Samuel warned her that it would not be easy. The book was protected by dark magic, and attempting to destroy it could unleash even greater horrors. Determined to end the haunting once and for all, Emma decided to confront the book's power. She gathered all the information Samuel had given her and prepared for the final ritual. She would need to perform a cleansing ceremony and then burn the book, hoping to break the curse. On the night of the full moon, Emma began the ritual. She cleansed her apartment with sage and salt, drawing protective symbols on the walls. She placed the book in a metal basin and surrounded it with black candles. As she lit the candles, she felt the familiar chill in the air and heard the whispers growing louder. She began to chant the incantation Samuel had given her, her voice steady, despite the fear gnawing at her. The room grew darker, and she could feel the presence of spirits closing in. She continued to chant, focusing all her energy on the ritual. As she spoke the final words, the book burst into flames. The fire burned with an unnatural intensity, and the whispers turned into screams of anger and pain. The spirits were fighting back, trying to escape the flames. Emma held her ground, chanting louder and louder until the book was reduced to ashes. The screams faded, and the room was filled with an eerie silence. The air grew warmer, and the oppressive feeling lifted. She had done it. The curse was broken. In the days that followed, Emma's life slowly returned to normal. The haunting had ended, and the spirits were at rest. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in months. The experience had changed her, but she was stronger for it. She kept in touch with Samuel, who was relieved that she had succeeded. He advised her to stay away from the occult and to be cautious of the unknown. Emma took his advice to heart, but she couldn't help feeling a lingering curiosity about the mysteries she had uncovered. As she moved on with her life, she couldn't forget the book that had guided her through the afterlife. It was a reminder of the thin veil between the living and the dead, and the dangers of meddling with forces beyond comprehension. Emma had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but she knew that some secrets were better left untouched. Would you dare to read such a book? Remember, some doors, once opened, can never be closed.